welcome to the NewX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, this week we are going to be taking a look at the politics over the surgical strike that have broken out, and also are we playing into Pakistan's narrative by going into politics such as this. Joining me in the roundtable is, from the Congress, we have Manish Tiwari, former INB minister and also spokesperson for the Congress. We also have Mr. Tarek Fatah, who is the author of The Tragic Illusion of an Islamic State. But my favorite description for you, sir, is that you're an Indian born in Pakistan.
Ji, like every other Pakistani.
Like every other Pakistani, I like that. And we have Dr. Subramanian Swamy. He's of course the BJP leader and he's also a member of the Rajya Sabha. And we have Mr. Madhav Das Nalapat. He's the editorial director of the Sunday Guardian. Manish, I'll begin with you. You know, we've had a whole series of comments from the Congress that have kind of detracted from the narrative. First you said, you know, you welcome the strike, then you said you want proof. Then of course Rahul Gandhi's latest statement, you know, saying that they're doing khoon ki dalali. So isn't the Congress playing into Pakistan's hands by questioning the government on the strikes?
Oh, absolutely not. And let me explain it to you. You see, the day the army announced institutionally that they had conducted operations along the LOC, as opposed to across the LOC, there was a general unanimity and a consensus that if at all the armed forces have done certain operations, those operations really need to be welcomed. But the distinction was that this is the first time that the political leadership decided to publicly profile along the border or across the border operation, not that they were not done earlier. Now, having done that, you unleashed a battle of competing narratives. An Indian narrative which was based on facts, a Pakistani narrative which was based on denial, and an international narrative which was generally ambiguous about the entire affair, so as to say. So therefore, when it was pointed out to people in government that an intrinsic part of the doctrine of asymmetric warfare is discourse dominance, rather than course correct, they started questioning the nationalism and patriotism of everybody who was raising that question. Then you took it a step forward that on one hand the Prime Minister decided to act prime ministerial and say that there should be no politics on it. On the other hand, you told your party people that go and do what you feel like. You had every kind of loose statement coming out of senior ministers of the government. The BJP took it to a different level in terms of, you know, the posters which came up all over Europe, all over UP. So therefore, under those circumstances, it is the government which set in motion a train of events which was completely and absolutely avoidable. And the reason why I have put it in a certain context is because ultimately, you know, I think that government did not think it through when it decided to publicly profile the operation along the LOC. Because if they would have thought it through, they would have thought the entire paradigm of clashing narratives through and maybe had a strategy in place.
Dr. Swamy, can I bring you in the government strategy? He's saying, why did you publicize it?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that government legitimately has a right to take a policy call
then
on that.
I'm not saying objecting to.
No, the objection really was that once you decided to publicly profile it and you had clashing narratives, what we were pointing out was that discourse dominance should also have been thought through. So, you know, they became a little prickly on that and you know, retaliated by starting to question everybody's nationalism. That's the entire issue.
Yeah, you know, the whole thing, minute you question, Manish has tweeted also that asking questions is not really, you know, shouldn't become an issue of national identity.
Well, see, first of all, Congress didn't speak with one voice. You had that former Shiv Sena man now in their party,
Mr.
Nirupam, he said that was fake. Digvijay said something similar. So the issue is that the authenticity of this whole thing and that we made it all up was the thing that Pakistani press picked it up. So if there's any way you really gave them comfort, is not that you were criticizing us or that we were taking a political advantage of it. Pakistan press was only focusing on the fact that this was all bogus and fake. Now, it is the replies began to come after that. Now, to say that we cannot publicize what happened, that is a decision for each government to take. Their own government says that we did it, but we didn't publicize it. But the Director General of Military Operations of their period has come on TV yesterday in 3-4 televisions saying that no such thing took place. If at all, there may have been cross-border firing. But what these...
So he says strikes of that nature did not take
that's
place.
That's right. But the
Such
strike of the nature is go
intensity
across,
did not take place.
identify 5 launching pads and complete destroy it, and come without any casualty whatsoever. Take for instance the Osama bin thing. There the Americans lost a helicopter with 4 people inside it and dead. You see, the helicopter burnt after it hit the wall. So every sting of this kind of surgical operation has some casualty, but this is the first time it has happened very clean. It has rattled Pakistan. You can see now the political authority is now a little more, looking up in the eye of the military, giving them instructions. There is demonstrations in what the Pakistan held Kashmir. A lot of political changes come. I think if you go back to the Bangladesh war, I myself campaigned for the Jansang that time. We were at a total disadvantage because Mrs. Gandhi, congressmen all said, "Hazar saal ki jeet, hazar saal ki jeet." And it was fully exploited. And I think any country, this is taken as a thing. Of course, the electorate may or may not agree tomorrow, like in the case of Churchill, he could not get any benefit of winning the World War II.
Mr. Fateh, you've heard both the arguments. Do I see you scripting the illusion of a patriotic state?
I don't understand what are the competing narratives. There's an Indian narrative and there's a Pakistani narrative. So which narrative is the issue here? That I can't understand. And I'm a student of military history and I've lived long enough to see many wars. I don't understand any Israeli opposition party demanding what the operations were when Ariel Sharon was dropped behind Israeli lines and knocked out in 1973 the entire Egyptian army at Kilo 101, where water was not available. I've studied the entire Vietnam War in 36 years. At the My Lai massacre, it was the Vietnamese who were demanding, saying something, and the Americans were saying, "Give us the evidence that we massacred people." So the demand for evidence comes from the opposition warring party.
No, more than that, he's saying don't politicize it. I think this narrative has gone beyond the evidence, if I'm right.
Once he finishes, then I'll...
Okay.
And as an outsider looking, sitting right here, I find it disturbing that it has been politicized to Pakistan's advantage. I'm quite... I don't know how to react to this because at one time in all Pakistan's history where the Prime Minister is saying we condemn the attack and the military bosses are saying there was no attack, I would have liked to do a Saturday Night Live skit on that as to what the hell are you talking about. Instead, it got diverted to what Indian politicians were saying to each other about I read Mr. Kejriwal who demanding, which is justifiable as to what happened. But in United States, these informations are handed over within in Congress, in closed door to the Congress Security Committee, which is all party, where people are briefed under oath of secrecy. It happens. But in public, you will never come out with what's to talk of military operations. Osama bin Laden's operation has not been, nobody has asked how it happened.
Yeah. What happened to Osama?
What happened to Osama? Nobody is asking that.
Manish, you want to quickly come?
Let me reply to that. First of all, as Dr. Swamy was saying that the Congress was not speaking in one voice, well, neither was the BJP speaking in one voice. There were lots of voices which were emanating out of the BJP. But
they are not objecting to our voices.
So therefore, let me put that straight. Number two, what Mr. Tarek asked as to what competing narrative. Well, ultimately, what was the object of the strike? The object of the strike was to bring about a change of behavior in the deep state of, in the Pakistani deep state, in addition to if you were seeking retribution, and I'll leave it in inverted commas. So therefore, if you look at the entire Western narrative, look at CNN, look at the Washington Post, look at the New York Times, look at the BBC, look at the German press, and everywhere there is one thread of uniformity which runs through it, that there is a sense of ambiguity about whether the operations took place or didn't. So if your audience is the Western capitals whom you want to convince that Pakistan is a terror state, Pakistan has launch pads along the LOC, Pakistan launches terrorists into Indian territory, I am afraid that objective didn't get achieved. And that is the narrative that we were pointing to.
I don't
no. Please, I didn't interrupt you. So that is the narrative that we were pointing to, that please try and get a discourse dominance on that. That's what we were doing.
Everyone agrees that it was the strike was there. There is nothing in the Western press about Pakistan, India not going behind the lines, as long as there was not doubt created inside India.
I'm sorry, right from the... Why don't you do one thing? Just go on to my Twitter live.
Why should I go
and you'll find all these posts which I've put out, which predate any controversy, starting from India.
Let me get in,
what happened is you get out of it.
All we were pointing out is get discourse dominance.
Discourse dominance? You're undermining India's position in
international... I don't need a lecture from you on India.
Swamy, you wanted to comment. At which point I've forgotten.
Like he said, if he looks at my website, you'll find an article of Washington Post of October 3rd, which starts, now that you have carried out the headline is of that article in the op-ed page, now that India has carried out the surgical strike successfully, what next? That's how it starts. That there is no doubt at all. So I don't know if he had given me an advance warning or you had given me an advance warning, I would have come with
I'll put a note saying refer to Twitter timelines after that.
Yeah, before coming. Second is, did the United States government express any doubts at all? They did, by the way, when Vajpayee had the hydrogen bomb explosion. And that was also not well taken. The United States government has only said that, now that has happened, talks should begin. China is just, on a pointed question by a pressman, the foreign affairs spokesman declined to say anything, but said that both are our good friends and they must talk to each other. Russia sent their ambassador Kadakin with a letter congratulating us with the for the operation and said we support you. Now, all three countries have the satellite pictures of the operation. And the Pakistanis had asked both the Americans and the Russians, and according to my information, the Russians did tell them, we have it and it is confirmed. Okay. Whether they gave the footage or not, I don't know, but they certainly confirmed it, and I got that confirmed from very good sources. So, therefore, there was never any doubt. So, just because Pakistan has a doubt, I am not compelled to release it. And I don't expect any Indian citizen to say that. They can, if the Indian citizen says, I am not convinced, please show me, I think there will be a case. Maybe, after all, I asked Mr. Rajnath Singh, he said in the briefing I have given them sufficient indication, nobody there said that we doubt this operation. Okay. So therefore, I think that part should be taken out.
But to be
now
fair,
the issue, if you are, there are only two issues. One, whether this was a bogus thing that we claimed, which in fact there is no any support of any
But that I think everybody agrees on.
And I don't care to convince Pakistanis, because they have even denied Kasab was a Pakistani. So there's nothing that, and on one of your broadcasts, the Pakistani said, whatever proof you give me, we will not believe you.
Okay.
Now they will probably want an international inspection, I don't know.
I just want to bring...
Last point I would say, the only other point is, are we taking political advantage of this? If I praise the army, it doesn't become political advantage. We did it, nobody else did it. That some of us are saying, and I say that is the truth. I am a member of the Standing Committee on Defense. They are going to on 14th, in fact, show us the footage. So
they are going to show the footage?
Yes, to us, yes. So we have had in the consultative committee on external affairs, of which I'm a member, they've given a very detailed thing. They didn't show us the footage, but they gave us very detailed where, what, everything, graphs and so on. So I am of the view that to praise the army and that it was done in our leadership, it was not done before, that I don't think is politicization.
Mr. Nalapat, the whole point is also not just praising the army, but putting Modi's posters with the strike, taking credit for the strike, so to speak. That is also what the Congress has been objecting to.
Priya, I think, frankly, let's not speak like the bureaucrats of the Election Commission or bureaucrats in general, who frankly have no idea as to what democratic politics is all about. So I want to say that I take a non-partisan view. Mistakes have been made on both sides.
That's put me in difficulty.
No, but look, but Manish has made an important point, which is the global media. Now, if you look back to the BBC or CNN or Al Jazeera or many of Channel 4, all these channels have actually supported the jihad in Kashmir. All these channels have basically supported the Pakistan stand on Kashmir, and they have in fact been pushing for Wahhabism to be to be introduced in Kashmir. Now that is in my view a failure of Indian communications policy, whether when Manish Tiwari was the minister or whether whoever else has become the minister. The international media unfortunately has got a reflexive pro-Wahhabi bias where India-Pakistan issues are concerned. And that bias is evident in this particular instance when some lady from Washington Post went to the Pakistan side.
No, CNN.
From CNN. Went to the Pakistan side. The fact is, I mean, terror camps are not located next to population centers. Even the Pakistanis are not stupid enough for that. They locate them in faraway places where people are not involved and where you can't report because they don't know how many of these people are Indian spies or not. Quite a few of them are, I hope. So the point is very simple. I'm not going into all that. I simply want to make a very simple point. I was delighted by this strike for a simple reason that this entire fetish about not crossing the line of control is an Indian fetish. In 1999, after Kargil, when hundreds and thousands of Pakistani troops crossed the line of control, our government at that point in time, I don't want to say which government, I'm sorry, I don't want to create this table to erupt. Our government did not allow our Air Force to even go 1 inch.
He's distanced himself from that government.
1 inch across the line of control. This is a ridiculous fetish. As I said, as a citizen, I am delighted that we are treating the line of control as cavalierly as Pakistan has been treating it ever since this very ill-fated Simla agreement, in which whether it is, because Benazir was charming or Zulfi was charming, everything that was won on the battlefield was given away in 1.5 days.
Or Farida Ataullah was charming.
Well, I don't know who was charming.
Okay, we're going to discuss this, but after a break. I'm going to come back, but after a break, I'll come back. This is a short break. Welcome back to the NewX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Dr. Swamy, before the break, we were discussing the foreign media coverage of the surgical strike, and you wanted to add.
One short comment only. That lady who did it for CNN also said in the same program that she was not allowed to quiz the villagers and find out what is the exact spot.
And yet she did that report. I mean, this is frankly incredible journalism.
Manish, you're a former INB minister, tell us.
No, in the sense Mr. Nalapat is a very, very distinguished journalist, and he was rightly pointing out that we should learn from our mistakes. So therefore, once you decided to publicly profile it, you should have had a strategy of discourse dominance in place. And that, unfortunately, whether it is because of a Wahhabi bias or it is because of the very deep links which the Pakistani military has with the Pentagon and the larger Western establishment, because they've been historically a part of SEATO and various other pacts, there could be various reasons. So at that point in time, well, what Mr. Kejriwal said, that is his problem. Insofar as we are concerned, and we didn't agree with Sanjay Nirupam's characterization that these strikes were fake.
But
in
you
fact,
haven't expelled him. You just...
We might not have expelled him.
rebuffed him.
A lot of people on the other side have also said things and they've not got expelled, but be that as it may. So our limited point was that once you have taken that step, you know, rightly or wrongly, we are not getting into it, you should have just thought the consequences through. That was all.
Fateh Sahab, are you just...
I don't know, this is an all India discussion. I'm just an observer, sorry.
Well, no, see, I think the issue is, that is not what they said. First of all, I don't know whether Sanjay Nirupam said it on his own or he was asked to. What he says privately, I cannot say here. But I've heard from Bombay that he was prodded to say this. And in the past also, he has said some awful things and nothing has happened to him because somebody who's his patron has been telling him to do it, and so he's protected. The question even not that, we may be in BJP talking in different voices, but different voices are all in unison. There's nobody who has been pulled up, except Modi felt that we should not boast about it too much. The issue is that, first of all, let us have an agreement that we should never try to convince Pakistan or convince the world that Pakistan is telling a lie. There's no need to. We are in a state of war, and it may not be a declared war, but it's the process of war. And in that, we have achieved it. The army has itself made a statement. Army will not tell a lie on the urging of the politicians. And therefore, I think this debate should never have been raised at all, because that's the only thing by which the Pakistanis were clutching, that this has never happened. To admit that this has happened is actually a basic assault on their manhood, and that is the one thing that Pakistanis cannot withstand because of their frontier
Swamy
psychology.
made a very important point, and I just want to take that forward. Dr. Swamy said, if I heard him correctly, that we are in the process of war.
Yes.
So are you saying that the operation along the LOC which took place is a precursor to war? Do I understand you correctly?
I will tell you exactly
No, because it's a very significant statement coming from a very senior member of parliament. And a former minister of the government of India.
Now, you see, I will tell you exactly what I meant, that if Pakistanis don't reform, there will be further action.
Do not take us for
granted.
granted.
A higher order than this.
Okay, Mr. Nalapat, just final words on this debate.
Well, I think the final words are very clear. The Pakistan Army, in my view, I agree with Mr. Tarek Fatah, is never going to reform. From the 1970s onwards, from Ziaul Haq's time, it has been infiltrated by very fanatic Wahhabis. That being the case, my own view has been for quite some time that what needs to happen is the natural evolution of a state founded on the wrong principle, that religion is a nationality. Now, Pakistan was separated from India on this wrong basis. The Bengali people understood that and took action. My own views inside Pakistan, whether it's the Baloch or the Sindhis or the Pashtuns or the Saraikis, I think they all understand that now. And in my view, the entire international community should assist these individuals to get freedom from the Pakistan Army, which is not only Wahhabi, but controlled by a very small ethnic group, which is less than 8% of the population of Pakistan.
Well, on that note, we've talked about need for global unity, but also we need first national unity, I think, on this from everybody on this table. But that's it for now.
No, we don't need.
We don't
because
need.
On fundamentals, we are all together.
Okay, that's a good note to end on. Thank you for watching this show. We'll see you again same time next week.